All right, what's going on, guys? Today we are not talking about guitar stuff. We are not talking about battery raw materials. We're not talking about Perl programming. We're talking about AWS. And what we're going to get into is the 4 different ways that you can connect to your AWS EC2 instance. Yes, there are 4 main ways to connect to your EC2 instance. And those 4 ways are EC2 Instance Connect, which is something I'm pretty sure most people do not use or do not know even what that is, but we're going to take a look at it. Another way that you can connect, or the second way you connect, is through SSH, standard SSH. This is the way that most people are used to. You've seen it when you create an EC2 instance. They always have you create those SSH keys, or you can use your own, and then you can connect through SSH. The third way is through the console access, and through that method, you actually don't need a network connection. Yes, you need a network connection, as in you need an internet connection so you can pull up a browser and get to your AWS console and then go into your EC2 instance console. But technically, you don't need a direct network connection to the EC2 instance, if you will. The fourth way is something that a lot of people probably don't use as well, and that is using AWS Session Manager. Session Manager is part of something bigger called AWS Systems Manager. So it's a very small subset of that, but it also provides an additional way for us to connect to our EC2 instances. So this is a 4-part series. It's too much to talk about in one video. So this particular video, we're starting off with the EC2 Instance Connect. So I'm going to try to keep each video to 10 minutes, and we'll see how it goes. All right, let's get into it. All right, so let's get into it. So I like to make notes every time I try to do something. And let me time myself. 2:07, so we'll see if we can get this done by 2:17. All right, so the first step, EC2 Instance Connect. This is what we're learning today, how to connect to your EC2 instance with EC2 Instance Connect. As you can see, I use Google Docs a lot to make notes about how to do stuff, and then I can come back to those notes. So there's System Manager and the SSH method, and then Serial Console. So I highly recommend that you guys do the same. Just make notes, because you're going to forget and you're going to want to know how to get back and do a lot of this stuff. Go to viewing mode. So first things first, we need an instance to connect to. So I have a brand new shiny AWS account, and we're going to make an EC2 instance really quick to get this up and running. Again, if you're new to AWS, that's fine. There's plenty of videos on the internet to tell you about what AWS is and all that good stuff and how to make an EC2 instance. But we're going to launch an instance, and we're going to go ahead and use a Amazon Linux 2 instance for now. So let's click select, and we're going to use T2 Micro because it's free, and go next. We're not going to really configure anything weird in here. I don't even know if we set this up to where you need to be able to connect to this instance from the public internet. So I think the standard VPC that they set up, that AWS sets up for us, will give us the ability to do that. If not, we'll come back and take a look. No premises, default, and any of the availabilities. Let's just do that. Let's do default. Assign public IP, use subnet setting. Yeah, let's assign a public IP. Host name, use subnet setting, IP name. Yep, that's fine. What are the other options for that? Oh, resource name, IP name. Yeah, let's just leave it that. And any of these other things we really don't need to worry about. Actually, we're not going to worry about. We're just going to see what happens when we use the default VPC, and just really everything just default. Let's see if we have public enable resource-based IPv4 DNS record requests. Yeah, I think we want that. IP name, IPv4 DNS determines. I have a problem with getting deeply lost in stuff sometimes, so I should just go on to the next thing before I just kind of start going down a rabbit hole. So let's just go back. Oops. Previous. So previous. We're going to leave it at 8 gigabytes of hard drive space. We don't care about any tags. I guess we could add a name. Let's add I don't know. We don't need a tag. I was just going to put for testing purposes as far as purpose. So we just put purpose. Testing. We don't really need a tag per se, but we're going to do it anyway. So create a new security group. Select an existing security group. What's the existing security groups? Existing security group is the default VPC security group. Let's just select that one, just so I can show you guys some things that you're going to need to do to set up EC2 Instance Connect. So, as a matter of fact, let's jump over here to the instructions. First thing you have to do for EC2 Instance Connect is install EC2 Instance Connect package on your actual Linux distribution. I chose Amazon Linux 2 because EC2 Instance Connect only works on Amazon Linux or Ubuntu. And I mean, you can install it on any version of Amazon Linux 2 or Ubuntu 16.04. You can install the EC2 Instance Connect software package. It comes pre-installed already on Amazon Linux 2 version 2.0 whatever or later, or Ubuntu 20.04 or later. It comes pre-installed on those. The other instance types like CentOS and stuff, I don't think you can use EC2 Instance Connect on it. But we will try it and just to see, but I feel like I read somewhere that EC2 Instance Connect only works on Amazon Linux and only works on Ubuntu. So yeah, so what is, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but what are some of the pros of using this method that we're about to use? We haven't even finished setting up our instance yet. Let's go back and set up our instance. Sorry. Yeah, let's come over here. Let's finish setting up this instance. Review. Let's see, T2 Micro, sounds good. Let's launch it. It's going to ask us, do we want to use a key pair? We're going to say no, we don't want to use a key pair, because the whole point of us using Amazon Instance Connect is that what if we don't have a key pair, first of all? Secondly, I don't know, we don't have a key pair. There's probably another use case for it. One thing to say about Instance Connect is you're only when you connect using Instance Connect, you're connecting as the EC2 user for Amazon Linux instances. If it was Ubuntu, you'd be connecting as a Ubuntu user. So you're basically connecting as the default user of that particular instance type. So you're connecting as EC2 or Ubuntu. So choose a key pair, no key pairs installed, no key pairs found. Proceed without a key pair. So we're going to choose that, and yes, we acknowledge it. So we're going to proceed without a key pair. Here's our instance. Let's come in and take a look at it. And we'll just put Amazon Linux test instance. Okay. Oops, why did that take it? Amazon Linux. Amazon Linux test. Damn, it doesn't want to stay. Linux test. Hit save. Gee, that took a while. Anyway, so we got that up and running. Now, if we click up here and click connect, we will notice that we see 4 different ways to connect. We see EC2 Instance Connect, which we're working on right now. We see Session Manager, which we don't have that configured. We see as a SSH client, it tells us we have no key pair because we didn't even assign a key pair. And we have console access, which we do not have that set up yet. So let's come back to EC2 Instance Connect. And remember I told you you're connecting as the default user, which is EC2 user for Amazon Linux, operating systems. So if we click connect and we wait and try to connect, it says there was a problem. So we don't have everything set up yet. So let's come back. And maybe we should have went over this first. I don't know, but this is my first time doing this. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is we need to set up the security groups to allow the EC2 Instance Connect service to connect to our instance, because that's what's actually pushing the public key up there. So it says, ensure that the security group associated with your instance allows SSH traffic from the IP address range for this service. That means the EC2 Instance Connect service. How do you know what that IP address range is? Well, you need to download or open this file in a browser. So I even saved it right here. So we'll open that file in a browser. And these are all the IP address ranges. This is where we found that IP address range for the EC2 Instance Connect service. Now, how did I find this? I found this because set up EC2 Instance Connect. So this is where I found out about how to find that IP address ranges through the documentation. You can Google search for any of this stuff, but I suggest getting familiar with the AWS documentation. It's a layout, at least. You don't have to know everything in here. There's too much stuff to know, but just the layout. So let's come back to what we're trying to do. We're trying to get those IP address ranges in there, as we said before. So we're going to come over to this JSON document, and we're going to search in here for EC2 Instance Connect, and we're going to make sure it's in the same not availability zone, but the same what do you call it? Not availability zone, but region. It's in the same region. So we're going to search for EC2 Instance Connect in that JSON document. All right, so like I said, let's search for EC2 Instance Connect. So we find it. There's several JSON entries in here based on what region you're looking for, but we're looking for US East 1. So let me just search backwards. I'm pretty sure that's my default region that I was in when I made this instance. So here it is, US East 1, EC2 Instance Connect. So this is what I need to put in my security group. So we're going to come back over to, we're trying to get to, over to here. I'm going to go cancel. And we are going to click on our instance, come to security, come to security groups, and click on this security group, which is the default security group. And the default security group doesn't allow anything, edit inbound rules. Actually it allow all traffic. That's not good. You don't want that. So let's change this to SSH, because we need to allow SSH from that CIDR block. You may not specify an IP CIDR for an existing reference group rule. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Let's add a new rule. Let's add SSH. Let's put that CIDR block in there. And let's say this is EC2 Instance Connect service. So that's our description. And let's save the rule. So now, and let's just put EC2 Instance Connect as a name. Now let's come back over here, and there still may be something else that we have to do, but I think it's gonna let us in here at this point. So let's come to our EC2 dashboard. Let's come back to that instance. Let's click on it. Let's click connect. Let's see if it allows us to connect. Yeah, we are able to connect. So one reason that we're able to connect right now is because this user right here I have is an admin user. So this user already has the permissions to connect. Okay, but we have a new employee starting today, and her name is Joy, and she's going to need access to connect with Instance Connect. And to allow her to connect with Instance Connect, we're going to need to give her the correct permissions. So if we come back over here to our instructions, yes, it worked this first time through. We had to have that security group set to let the EC2 Instance Connect service get through. But for our user Joy, you see it says configure AWS Identity and Access Management policies. Well, the user that I'm already logged in as is a admin user, so he already has all the rights to do whatever he wants to do. But most other people will need the Amazon EC2 read-only access and the EC2 Instance Connect. Why do they need the Amazon 2 read-only? Is so if they're connecting through the console, then they will need that. So, yeah. So let's take a look at this second one. First, let's add our user Joy that we're talking about. So let's add a user, and her name is Joy. She's just starting today. I want her to have programmatic access and also want her to have access to the console. Let's give her a password. It says auto generate or give her a password. Let's just give her custom password, and I'll give her something that I can remember. Okay. User must create a new password. No. Okay. Now I want some special characters and stuff. All right. So let's take that off. So now when we create this user, it's going to have us download the AWS keys, and we kind of want to remember what these are. I'm going to go ahead on and copy them out right now. I don't mind showing you guys what it is because I'm going to delete this user afterwards and the keys, so it's not a big deal. So let's copy the AWS access key and let's add it to our credentials, our AWS credentials file. And actually, I forget the syntax for this. Whenever you forget the syntax, just run AWS config and recreate. I think maybe not. Unable to parse AWS credentials. Sudo AWS config. Yay. What's the issue here? I think there's a reason for this. I think if I just delete these things. Actually, I think if I just delete the whole AWS directory and just try now. Okay, AWS configure. Okay, that's why. I think it's because it says invalid choice. You must have meant something else. Okay, access key. Let's come back and let's come back to here and let's grab this access key. Oops. And let's put it in here. Bam. And let's come back and grab this secret password. Don't give anybody your access keys, by the way, or your secret password and all that. Again, I'm going to delete this stuff later, so it's not a big deal. But whatever permissions that these access keys possess, well, somebody can use them and get into your AWS account and do whatever they want to do. They don't need any other information because the access keys, well, they will need to know the region or whatever, but the access keys give them everything else. Default output option, we say JSON. All right, so now it created this automatically for us. Again, these credentials, it's cat credentials. So it says default, but we're gonna just change that to Joy, just so we know that those are Joy's access keys. All right, cool, we got our access keys, and we will just download these just to have them. And let's close this out. All right, and let's log out and let's log in as Joy and see if we're going to be able All right, now I don't think we gave Joy any permissions to do anything. Click EC2. we notice that she cannot see any, there's nothing in there for her to see. Let's see. EC2 dashboard, API error, because she doesn't have access. So let's sign back out. Let's go back in, because remember, we need to give her this role and we need to give her EC2 Instance Connect. I think she can connect from the command line with EC2 Instance Connect without even having this role right here. And remember, she's going to be pushing that key, pushing her public key, which she doesn't have one yet. We're going to create her one. And yeah, let's just see. Let's see if she can do it without it. But we do need to give her this. So let's sign in. So let's come into IAM, come into users. Let's look at Joy user, and let's add her some permissions. Let's give her an existing policy, and that existing policy instance EC2 Instance Connect. So we want to give her that. All right, now that Joy has the EC2 Instance Connect, thingamajiggy. Let's see. Remember, she doesn't have any other permissions, so she can log into the console, but she can't even see any EC2 instances or anything like that. But let's see if just by her having this permissions. So we got that much, but now let's see if we can push those keys up there, and then push Joy's public key up there, and then also use her private key to connect. Now she doesn't have a public-private key pair. We're going to just create some in the same directory that we're in right now. So we're going to use SSH keygen. If you don't know how to use SSH keygen, that's fine. You can just look it up. This is how we generate SSH keys for a user using SSH. We're going to say -f because we're going to specify the file name that we want to call our SSH key pair, and then also -n when we're saying we're saying no to any password authentication. In other words, we don't want this SSH keygen command to ask us any questions, because normally it would ask us, what do you want to enter as your password? Because you can password protect an SSH key pair. So we're saying no, and then we're saying C, and this is how we kind of name our key pair. So we'll say Joy, Joy Jones. So this is just how we name it. So it should place us a key pair in this same directory that we're in right now. So it did its thing, and we have a key pair in here right here. So if we cat the public key, we don't have to do this, but we're just verifying that what the public key is. You see it ends with MVL. We can also verify that this private key does match that. You can use SSH keygen again for that. You can do SSH keygen -y and then -f, and -f is saying, okay, what private key file do you want to use with the -y option to show you the public key. So we do that, and it shows us that, okay, from this private key, we get the same public key as when we cat it out. The only thing we don't get is that description, that Joy Jones that we created with the -c option. We don't get that. So we got our key pair in here. So now we want to connect to see if we can connect to the instance. So let's come back to our instructions, which pretty much tells us that install the AWS CLI on your computer, which we did that already. And it says push. So you'll need this if you want to push your public key up there. Remember, we don't have any public-private key pairs on our EC2 instance. We're going to push Joy's public key up to the EC2 instance, and it's going to add it to the metadata and allow it to be used with the EC2 user, OS account user on the system. So I'm going to click this and go back to my instruction, over here, so I can see how to actually do that push command. And this is how you do it. So I'm going to going to just hop back and forth. So we're going to do AWS EC2 Instance Connect, and we're going to do send SSH public key. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to send a public key. So we go and do AWS EC2. Oops, sorry. AWS EC2 Instance Connect. Okay, I was trying to do tab complete and it's like not doing it. No such file or directory. Okay, let's just type in the whole command because clearly I'm doing something wrong. AWS EC2 Instance Connect. Normally you could do bash completion, but clearly I'm doing something wrong. EC2 Instance Connect. And then send public key. That is the sub command. And then we want to say, what's the instance ID? So she would have to know the instance ID, by the way. And what is the instance ID? Let's come back here and let's look EC2. Boy, this takes a lot longer than I thought. And I don't even know if I'm explaining in the correct order that I should be for everything. But you know, I mean, hey, it's free training, right? Instance ID. I'm trying to figure out how to copy and paste that out of there really quickly. Usually it shows you. I think you're just clicking on it. Maybe not. How do I grab my instance ID out of there? Click on that. Security, blah, blah, blah. EC2. By the way, I'm going to get rid of this instance and stuff, so I don't care about you guys seeing the IP address. Where? I guess I could just highlight it out of here, but I just thought there was an easier way. I feel like, oh, when you click connect up here, you can actually just click the instance ID right there. Boom. So that's a good way to get it. So we got the instance ID. What else do we need? We need availability zone. That's US East 1. Let's just double check to make sure that my instance is in that availability zone. And if we click over here and we click the instance, what availability zone is it in? US East 1D. So we need to make sure we put that. So the user Joy would need to know that as well. US East 1D. So availability zone. Availability zone. US East 1D. Okay. Got that. And instance OS user, remember they're connecting as the EC2 user. And SSH public key file, okay? And that is, we know where that is. It's right in the same directory. So SSH public key. And then we do file and / file : / and I think we need the extra. I think we can tell it. Gosh, screwed up this freaking command. Ugh. If this works, and if Joy has, our AWS command, we need to put -- profile Joy to make sure we're telling it which keys, because remember, the AWS credentials, the keys that we have on here, those credentials are what tells AWS what permissions Joy has, or what permissions these keys have rather. It's not so much Joy, that's just a name. But these permissions are, these keys give access to a user account that thus have certain permissions. So let's hit this and let's see. You must specify a region. You can also configure, so it didn't like the region. Oh, availability zone. Oh, I have to put the region. Okay, why? Because if we cat out my config file, notice the region says US East 1. So let's go inside that. It's kind of a gotcha there. Let's go inside that config file and let's just copy these 3 lines down here and let's put joy. And the region is US, let's see. Oops. Let's actually come back out and take a look. US East 1D is the availability. So US 1. Oh, I get it. Okay, so it's basically saying because based on the profile we were using, we're using joy as the profile. So in this config file, we also needed something named joy as well, which we do now. So we could have just changed, actually just changed this to joy. And so this command right here, again, we don't need the region in here because it's getting it from the config file. So let's see. You must specify a region. You can specify a region. AWS config. We did specify a region. Let's cat credentials, cat config. So US East 1 is the region. We are specifying a region because we're using a profile called joy. So you can configure region, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, let's just US East 1. That would be a default region. But you know what? Let's just put region. Let's just see. Let's add it here and see if it helps. That's weird. Even though we did -- profile here, but anyway, we have 60 seconds now to try to connect to the instance, which we need the public DNS, which is this thing right here. So let's see if we can SSH in really quick. ID. So we're going to use that, and we're going to go as EC2 user at that public thing, and let's see if we can get in. Again, I don't think we need the EC2. I don't think Joy needs EC2 access. But anyway, we're about to find out. It's taking a long time, so I'm thinking that it's not going to work. Okay. Yeah. This is way too long. Oh, I know what the issue is. Duh. Back in our instructions, remember, it said when we configure security groups, you need to configure inbound traffic from the service itself, but also as well as the IP address range from the connected users. So I'm trying to connect, so let's come back to the instance and back to its security group. And because I'm trying to connect from where I am right now, so let's edit the inbound rules. Let's add SSH from where I am. So we'll say custom anywhere my IP. Where I currently am. So let's add SSH. So save the rules. Yep, because remember, I'm actually SSHing from here. And you know what? Here's a good troubleshooting tip. You can always use Telnet. People don't use Telnet, but I use it a lot just to kind of test. And I know I got SSH access. I didn't before when before I had that security group set up. So anyway, we need to come back to do our command again. Okay, so we got a true back from our thingamajiggy. And now let's run that SSH command again that we were running here. Looking good. And we are connected to our EC2 instance as the EC2 user. Okay, so basically for somebody just to, the bare minimum permissions that that person needs is they need the EC2 Instance Connect. But that policy is pretty much kind of wide open. If we come back and look at that policy, notice something. Joy. If we come back and look at this policy, notice that it's allowing Joy to connect to any EC2 instance, and you may not want that. So you might want to restrict that down a little bit. So here I'll put a link to another more restrictive kind of JSON document, or policy document rather. And if we come back over here and let's get rid of this one because that's too open, and let's create our own for Joy inline policy JSON. So we add our own, and we need that instance ID again. So let's just grab it from here. My computer's starting to overheat because of the... Oops, get rid of that. Copy the account. What's the region? US East 1. And AMI username is EC2 user. And yeah. So she can push SSH public key to only this particular instance. And let's review the policy. To call it EC2 Instance Connect. So create the policy. Now, can she still do it? Okay, let's see. Let's connect there again. Yep, she can still push her key and she can still log in there. Cool. So that's what you want to do. You want to set a more restrictive policy because again, that other policy is just too wide open. Joy logs in. She can now see this Linux instance. She can click on it and she can click connect. And let's see if she can get in with Session Manager. And yes, she can get in with Session Manager. And she is the EC2 user. And technically, she is SSH'd in here. So, that was a lot of work. Let's explain what we kind of had to do to get this to work. So first thing to do, to use EC2 Instance Connect, first we have to install EC2 Instance Connect software on the EC2 instance that we're trying to use it on. If you're using Amazon Linux or you're using Ubuntu, you don't have to worry about installing it. It comes pre-installed. At least with Amazon Linux version 2.020190618 and Ubuntu 20.04 and later, it comes pre-installed. The other versions of Ubuntu 16.04 and up, or Amazon Linux 2, any version, you have to install it manually. Can it work on CentOS? I don't think it can work on CentOS. We didn't take a look at that. Okay, so we know we need to get the Amazon EC2 Instance Connect software installed on our instance. We know we need to set up our security groups to allow SSH access from the location that the end user is trying to SSH from, but also the EC2 Instance Connect service. And I showed you how to get those IPs from the service. It's available on the inside the AWS documentation. So the other thing you need to do is, if they are going to connect using the AWS CLI, I mean their own SSH client, they're going to need to have the AWS CLI installed, because they're going to use the AWS CLI to push their keys up to the service. They're actually pushing those keys not directly to the instance, but they're pulling it to the EC2 Instance Connect service, who is then, I believe, sending it over to the particular instance itself. Either way, it gets up there, it gets to your instance's metadata, and then within 60 seconds, when that end user tries to SSH in there, they should be able to get in there. But that user is going to need those IAM policies. They're going to need the EC2 Instance Connect policy, which is a little bit loose. I suggest you tighten that down a little bit more and create your own policy with more restrictive JSON policy settings. That's all, and that's what they need just for SSH from the command line. If they're going to do EC2 Instance Connect from the console, from the web console, then they are going to also need the Amazon EC2 read-only policy, at least so that they can see the instance and get to it inside the web console, and then also click on Connect from there. There was one other way that I didn't really talk about. AWS has they have an EC2 Instance Connect CLI itself, and what that is going to allow a person to do, and we didn't really talk about it, but it's going to allow a person to use one little simple command. Let me see if I can find it really quick. It will allow them to connect. So it will allow them to connect using this special command I'm looking for. Connect using EC2 Instance Connect EC2 Instance Connect CLI. There's a command called mssh, and I'm kind of showing it to you here on the screen. But if you install that CLI using pip install, then it will allow you to use this one little simple command. You just do the command, and you also put the instance ID. Of course, the end user, they still going to need their AWS access keys, I do believe, to be set up correctly. And install, let's see, install EC2 Instance Connect. So pip install to install CLI. So yeah, you can use the CLI. So you can use their CLI, you can use, your end user can use their SSH client, or they could use the EC2 Instance Console. So that's about it. Hope you got something out of this. It was long, it was drawn out, but you should know how to use EC2 Instance Connect. The next video, we will learn how to use, I think, Systems Manager to connect to your instance. All right, we'll talk at you later. Peace.